Okay, we're now recording. So today we have a presentation, but we'll do that in a little bit. Who's giving the presentation today? Oh, I didn't write that down.
That's Harry, Landry, and me.
Oh, good. You guys are all here. Okay, so let's finish up talking about compensation. We only had like a tiny bit left to do, and then you guys will do your presentation, and then we'll get into our next subject, which is benefits. There is no video up for benefits yet. I still need to upload that. But the one for compensation I put up, and I have started grading your tests, but I haven't finished them, but I have started. So we're all very happy about that. I need to finish them because I can't buy myself a present, which is a guitar, until I finish grading. And I really want that guitar. Okay, so we're talking about compensation. A little review, I don't want to go too much into it. The big point, I think, really one of the big things you need to know, certainly for the final exam, we had covered right at the beginning. And that was pretty much this topic of the 12 characteristics. This is the important foundation of compensation. And one of the big ideas I wanted you to get, and one of the places where people are losing a little bit of points, I grade pretty gently in this class, but people are losing, a point or two, is when people talk about the, and I'll have a longer sort of discussion of the midterms when I've finished them all. But one thing is when people talk right in question 1 about the 8 functions. Oh, I hear an echo. And that's fixed. So when people talked about the 8 functions of HRM, and they said, evaluation is talking about, did the employee do good or bad? Compensation is about paying the employee. I feel like you're missing something really, really critical. And that is this idea here of the purpose of compensation, the purpose of evaluation, the purpose of strategic HR, right? The purpose of all of these things is not just to pay people or not just to tell people if they're doing a good or bad job. The purpose of HR is really to help the employees grow on the one side, and on the other side, to help the CEOs and the managers align the employees with the organization's goals. So, right at the beginning, we start with this idea of external and internal, right? Those are the 2 big things you need to know. You have to understand what are external and internal equity. The next big thing you need to know is that whatever the HR program is, it has to be something where the senior management agrees, like it's good for the CEOs, it's good for the vice presidents, it helps them. And then the third thing is that it helps the employees. These are kind of the 3 big things I need you to know. And then the fourth thing would just be that the program of evaluation, training, compensation, whatever it is, it can't be too expensive. It's got to be flexible. It's got to be legal. It's got to be broad, just sort of, it can't be arbitrary. So there are kind of 4 things we need to know about compensation or evaluation or training or recruitment or selection. I mean, it's for all the things in HR. Is that number 1, we need to look at internal and external equity. Now, if we're talking about training, you should be getting, at our company, you should get similar training that you would get at another company. It shouldn't be like our company gives no training and Disney English gives a lot of training. Guess what? All our employees will quit and go to Disney English. So we have to give, like, in terms of external equity, if we rate people as doing a bad job, but other companies rate people so much better, well, again, people won't be happy in our company. So there has to be external equity. There needs to be internal equity. I can't give Harry training, but give everybody else no training, unless there's a good reason for it. It's got to be internal and external equity. The second point, it's got to be good both for the higher management and for the employees. If I'm giving training that you guys love, but the CEOs think it doesn't matter, well, then that's no good. If I'm giving you training that you guys hate, but the CEOs like it, well, that's no good either. So it has to meet the needs. And when I say it, I mean training, compensation, evaluation, recruitment, selection, everything. It has to meet the needs of the CEOs and the higher level management, and it needs to be good at motivating and at growth for the employees. Okay, the third point was that it has to be, was that one, two? One is internal and external. Two is it has to be supported by senior management and employees. Three, it has to be about motivation and growth. And then four, it has to be flexible, not too expensive, not too complicated, legal, just all of these structurally. It needs to be an okay benefits program, compensation program, evaluation program, training program, recruitment program. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. These four things are pretty important across HR. And that's something I expect you to understand. Other things that are kind of really important, I think, the law stuff, all of you guys did well on that so far on the midterm. The next big thing would really be these steps to find the compensable factors, all the stuff we did last week with the Hay Guide, right? This idea of how do you conduct a job evaluation and set pay rates. So we talked about this last week, and we said there's pretty much like a 5-step process. So you need the job descriptions first, and then the real key is number 3. Right, to measure each job's critical components. These are the compensable factors. Christine, what does compensable mean?
Like it is something that is able to compensate, like you can give money on the factor?
Yeah. Compensable means something we pay for. Right, so these are factors are things that we're going to pay people for. Now, what you look like is not a compensable factor, unless we have a modeling agency or something. But if we have an English teaching company, what you look like isn't a compensable factor. But what is a factor that we pay for is your skill, your education, your problem solving, your knowledge, your decision making, your critical thinking, your judgment, all of these things that we saw in the Hay Guide. All of the know-how, these are compensable. These are things we pay for. Your practical knowledge. If you can design PPTs really well, great, we'll pay for that in our English teaching school. If you have great organizing skills, cool, we'll pay for that. That's a compensable factor. If you're good at influencing people, well, then you could be a salesperson. That's a compensable factor. If you're somebody who can have a lot of freedom to act, that's a compensable factor. A lot of employees who are not trained, they don't know what to do with freedom. And I don't mean the freedom to not be in prison. I mean the freedom to make decisions. People need to be trained to be managers. So these are all factors that we pay for. They are compensable factors. So we talked about these 5 steps, really important. This is kind of the center piece of this subject. Was what is the salary survey? That of course is external. What is the relative worth? That's internal. And then we use pay grades, wage curves, and rate ranges. And so this idea of relative worth was kind of the key. And for relative worth, we were talking about this idea of compensable factors. And we talked that you can use an intuitive approach, which is just deciding which job you think is harder or more important, or which job should be paid more. But we don't really want to use that system. We want to use a system of compensable factors. What's the difference, Landry? Can you tell me the difference between using an intuitive approach and using compensable factors to decide salary?
Intuitive approach is like deciding based on your own factors, like based on your own opinion.
Okay.
And compensable factors are more, I'll say more rational.
Okay, I can accept that. It's more rational. Jody, can you add to this? Why are compensable factors more rational?
Because we see from the employee's skills, effort, responsibility, and like their, yeah, something like that.
Okay, so the idea, and that's fine, the idea is that we are separating the factors in the job. If we're using the intuitive approach, there's no separation. It's just, I think this person should get more money than that person. Why? I don't know, I just think so, right? It's just my opinion. There's no real factors. But if we start using factors, what we're doing is we are separating into reasons. Why should this person get more money? Well, this job takes more skill, or has more responsibility, or requires more education, or requires more influencing, or requires more decision making. We now have all these reasons that we can say why one person should get more or less than another. Then the third step was to use the pay grades to put jobs into categories by points. Then we use the wage curve, which looks like this. And then we talked about the rate ranges, so you could have many steps for each grade. After that, we talked about managerial jobs and the idea that when you're paying a manager or a vice president or a director, somebody who's a high level staff, you're talking not so much about knowledge, skills, you're talking about more conceptual things like problem solving, complexity, span of control. You're also talking about education and experience. And then you're also talking about rate of return. If you're working for a company that makes millions and millions of dollars every year, the high level employees might make more. Then we started talking about a few different payment programs. So let's make sure we understand those. We talked first about the idea of what is base pay, right? Base pay is the money that people get every month. And then we talked about 3 different ways to calculate the base pay. Can anybody tell me one of the ways to decide the monthly salary or the base pay? Anybody tell me one way to decide?
What the competitors pay?
Anais, yes? Anais, yes?
What the competitors pay for the same job?
Okay, okay. It's not exactly what I meant.
Would it be like
Sure, we
compensation?
can look, sorry?
Like the 3 things were fixed compensation, guaranteed bonuses, and discretionary bonuses.
Discretionary. I'm not sure where you're getting that from.
It's not about that.
Based on the
No, that's not what I was
seniority?
thinking of. I was thinking of variable pay, single pay, and third one, variable, single, and merit. So what Anais said, of course, is important. We do need external equity, no question. You know, we absolutely do need to make sure that what we're paying is at least similar to what other companies in this industry are paying, because if we're not, our employees might leave and go to those other companies. So that's definitely important. So let's say that we have an English teaching school and our salary, you guys are all the teachers and I am the manager. And what I pay you guys is reasonably close to all the other schools, Kid Castle, Disney English, EF, whatever, it's all pretty close. And what I pay you is also pretty close to each other. You know, maybe Juan has a TEFL degree and Christine doesn't, so maybe he gets a little more. And Christine has 5 years of experience and Jody doesn't, so she gets a little more than Jody, but it's all reasonable. So we have internal and external equity. Now I have a couple of choices in how I could pay you guys each month. You all get a salary each month. Now one way to give you a salary was called single rate. So what's single rate? What does that mean? Christine, can you explain what does single rate mean?
Sorry, I had to turn off my heater. Single rate is you'll earn, I guess you'll earn the same amount of money as everyone else. I don't know.
Okay, so it's usually the same as everybody else, but the key idea is you have a starting rate.
Right.
So let's say I start you guys all at the same amount. Now, can this amount go up?
Yes.
Yeah, how?
When you get a
Well,
license or when you meet some specific standard?
Sure. So we have steps. Now, let's say you all start at the same rate. You all start at 100 RMB per hour. Now, if you earn a TEFL license, everybody know what I mean when I say TEFL? Teaching English as a foreign language, TEFL. So if you get a TEFL license, so right now you all start at 100 an hour. If you get a TEFL, you all go up to 130. That's it, that's the step. It doesn't matter who you are. If Landry gets it, or Jonathan gets it, or Anais gets it, you all go same amount. And then if you guys earn a CELTA certification, that's another sort of teaching thing, well, then you all go to 150. And that's it. There are these steps, very specific steps. There's no question about how much money you will earn if you get this next step. Now, that can be good in some ways because it's very, very fair. What are some problems with paying you guys in the English school this way? You all start at 100. If you get a TEFL, you go to 130. If you get a CELTA, you go to 150. You get 3 years of experience, you go to 170. It's just organized. Jonathan, what's a problem with this?
There's no performance-related rate increases
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
individuals.
Right, and that's the problem. So what if Jonathan's doing a fantastic job and he's working so hard and the students love him, but then Harry comes 5 minutes before class and he does a so-so job and the students don't love him as much? It doesn't matter. With a single rate, they both get exactly the same money. And if they both get the TEFL, they both go up to the same money. Now, for Harry, that might be fine. But how is that going to affect Jonathan? It's definitely not going to motivate him. In fact, it will probably demotivate him, right? So this is good, where there are jobs of similar difficulty, where everybody works at the same pace, where there are very clear goals, where routines are very clear, and where it really doesn't matter how much effort each person does. So the point is, single rate is going to be really best used in manufacturing or factories, something where everybody's goal is to do a certain number of units per hour. And it really doesn't matter if you put in more or less effort. It doesn't really matter if you're in a good mood or a bad mood, or if you're smiling or not, you know, but if those things really matter, a single rate isn't the best. In that case, we want to use either variable or merit. So what's the difference between variable and merit? Because they both do change. Both variable and merit are not always the same. Single rate is always the same, but variable could change. So how does variable change and how is it different from merit? So merit is based on personal achievement, right? The idea of merit is that if you achieve more, you get more money. Now, it depends how often you have a merit review. Merit bonuses might be pretty small if they're every 3 months. It depends on how many people get this. It depends on the amount of money that's given. But generally, there's a lot of benefits to this because then we can look at Jonathan's customer satisfaction and his student surveys and everybody likes him and we can give him a little bonus, an extra 20 RMB an hour or a one-time bonus of 3,000 RMB or whatever. But it will motivate him to do a good job as long as it's at least $100, as we saw last time. Less than that doesn't really motivate people as a one-time bonus. So we can always give these kind of bonuses if people are doing a good job, and that's a benefit. The problem with a merit-based bonus, for one, people begin to expect them, and if you did a pretty good job this month, and we gave you a merit bonus, what if you don't get one next month? Then you'll feel demotivated. There are things that are nice about getting the same salary every month, there's no question. And then if you work hard because you want to work hard, or you work hard for other reasons like getting a promotion or any of the incentives that we'll talk about when we finish this subject. So that's merit. Variable pay is this idea of risking money. So what does this mean, you'd risk money based on performance? Nicola, can you explain that?
I would say it's related to decision-making process. So take the risk to.
What kind of risk?
Would commission like a type of risk?
Like what?
Would a commission go on a variable pay?
Commission would go under variable pay, yeah. What's the risk with a commission?
If you don't sell, then you don't get your commission. Well, if you don't sell.
So your measurable accomplishments affect your salary.
Yep.
Yes.
And if you achieve, now it's measurable. So we know exactly how much what your KPI is. And if you achieve that, you get more. But if you don't achieve that, you have a lower base pay. Now, employees, as we said, employees usually only risk like 5%, but senior management, they might risk almost 35 or more percent. A lot of their salary might be risked on this idea of measurable accomplishments. Now, there's a real danger here. This can be very useful for motivation, but there's a real danger. What happens if you guys are salespeople and for my English teaching company, and your KPI is to get 20 new customers. And if you get that, you get a really big bonus. And this year, you need the bonus. You need it to pay for your family's medical bills, whatever, you really need it. But you only get it if you get 20 new students. What are you going to be willing to do to get those new students? Bella, do you think you're going to be very ethical?
Maybe to some levels.
Maybe, but what if you only have 18 people? You got 18 new customers, you need 2 more. And you know that Landry has some customers he hasn't called yet. And if you don't get this money, then, you get the point, right? If there's a measurable goal and everybody's salary is connected to that goal, people have an incentive or a temptation to behave in an unethical way. So that kind of is the danger. Then we stopped there last week. We stopped with this idea of variable pay. There are a couple of others. There's skill-based pay. And skill-based pay is when you get paid based on your skills, not on your job. So it's really just about skill set. Let's say that I hire you to teach English in my school. And I say, if you get a certification in a second language, I will increase your salary by $50 an hour. So, okay, Jody goes out and gets a certification. Jody, what's your second language?
English.
Oh, okay, what's your first language?
In my country, Indonesia.
So Indonesian?
Yeah, Indonesian.
Okay. So let's say that Jody's teaching English at our school and he also gets a certification in Indonesian. Well, he gets extra money. He gets another $50 an hour. Do we need him to teach Indonesian? No. It's not about the job. It's not about what I need you to do. It's just about getting new skills. Why would I pay people to get skills if we're not using them in the company? Chandra, can you think of a reason? Why might I pay people to increase their skills, even if they're not using it right now in their job?
Because the company is in the long term, your company would exist for like hundred of years. So like investing for your company, like
Sure.
to
Absolutely. And even if it's not hundreds of years, even if it's just a couple of decades, you know, training Jody to have more skills in computer design, PPT, organization, all of these different skills. On the one hand, if he stays with our company, maybe he will feel loyalty and he'll become a manager, and that's great. Now he has all these skills. On the other hand, if he leaves and he goes to work for Juan's company, and now Jody has all these skills, he's probably going to recommend my company to other people. If he meets somebody who's suitable, it's a way of generating good faith. It's a way of building your team. There's a lot of benefits to skill-based pay. A couple of problems. For one, it does cost money, of course. I got to pay him, even though I'm not using the skills. So you can't really do this if you have no money. And then the other problem is people can max out their skills. If my job allows 5 different types of skills, one is a second language, one is a computer skill, one is an organizational skill, whatever. Once you've done all of them, you're done. There's no more chances for salary increases or for raises. So that can be a little demotivational. The final one, yeah.
So the variable pay, the employer can decrease like the manager's salary?
Well, it's not that you can decrease the salary. It's that if they don't meet the KPI, for variable, the key word is risk. That's the key word. So it's not that if I'm the CEO, it's not that I would pay my manager less. It's that as a CEO, let's say, Jody, you're my manager, and you have a KPI. Your job is to increase our profitability this month by 5%. Now, if you do that, then the whole company is making more money. I'm happy to give you a bonus because you made us money. Even if I give you a bonus, you made this much money, I give you a little bonus. That's good for me, the CEO. And if you didn't succeed, no bonus.
Oh, so we see from the bonus, right? Not from the salary.
So for me, it's win-win. Either my company made more money and I give you a bonus, or my company didn't make more money and I pay you less. Because you're willing to take the risk. Because it's a good bonus. But it's great for me because even after I give you the bonus, I've made lots of money from you if you succeeded and met the KPI. So the last one is competency-based pay. This is a very similar idea to skill-based, really no difference. The difference between a skill and a competency is a skill is usually physical and a competency is usually like managerial, organization, communication, but it's the same idea that we're going to pay you for what you can do, not for the job, right? Same idea as skill. We're going to pay you for the skill, not the job. So for skill pay, it might be you learn to use this machine, you learn to use that machine, you learn a second language. These are skills. Competency, it may be about you learn organizational competencies, you learn time management, you learn communications. These are things that are not hands-on skills, but it's the same idea.
Is the pay different?
How do you mean different?
Like, is it more, do they pay you more for competency-based skills or, I don't know. I mean, competency-based pay, I don't know.
Yes, they do. So competency-based skills, typically there are 4 kinds, right? Technical, knowledge, behavior, and interpersonal. And the thing is, and we all know this, once you get more and more education and you get into the managerial level, you're making a lot more money than people who are hands-on, usually. Some jobs really can pay a lot of money for doing physical labor, but generally being a knowledge worker pays more than being a physical laborer. So when you're learning skills and you're learning to use all these different machines, that can be very valuable. So if you're working at a warehouse and you learn to use the press and the lathe and the compressor, and then you learn to drive a forklift, and then you learn to drive a truck, these are all skills and you can earn a lot of money. You really can. But if you're a manager and then you start to learn more competencies in terms of interpersonal skills, or you get an MBA, or you get a JD, or you get a master's, you start to learn more technical skills in how to use more advanced kinds of software. There's no maximum salary, right? When we talk about knowledge workers, there's no maximum. CEOs can earn millions and millions. Now, physical laborers, I have a friend who was driving a 16-wheel truck, like a really big truck around America. You can earn really good money, not millions of dollars. You'll never earn millions of dollars. To earn that kind of money, you need to be a knowledge worker. So competency does pay more. And I thought we covered this last week. I guess we didn't. The idea of broadbanding. So broadbanding is more of a modern idea. If you remember, we looked back, and I'll come back to this in a second, but you remember we looked back at this, the salary table. And we were talking about rate ranges. And I said, isn't it weird that you could be on grade 3 and if you're on grade 3, step 10, you actually earn more than grade 5, step 1. And that's crazy. Why would you earn more? This is 2 grades down. Why would you earn more on grade 3, step 10? And the answer was these rate ranges can look at your experience also. So if you're grade 3, let's say Chandra went to college and she works for our big company, our pharmaceutical company. She went to college and she is a grade 3 worker, but she's worked here for 10 years. And so she is at grade 3, step 10. And recently we hired Nicola, and Nicola has a PhD and a master's. So he might start at grade 5 because his education is higher, but he shouldn't be earning more money than Chandra, who's been here for 10 years. So we do allow an overlap here. Now here's the problem. What if Nicola comes into our company in marketing department and he is grade 5? And actually Nicola doesn't like the job. We have an opening in our, let's say our research and development team. And Nicola really wants to join that team. But that team is on grade 4. Now, Nicola has to consider this because if he wants to take that job, he's going to go down a whole pay grade. You know, what if Nicola was at grade 8 and the new job is at grade 5? Nicola doesn't want to go down so many pay grades. Is there a big difference? Well, I mean, no, not really. 46,735 versus, you know, a high of 44. It's not a huge difference, but the possibility, you know, the high score is much different. So how do we do this? Because we want Nicola to be satisfied. We want him to do the job that interests him, but we don't want him to feel that he's taking a loss by doing this. So in that case, what we might use is broadbanding. And broadbanding collapses salary grades into a few wide ranges called bands. So instead of having grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, we might have grade 1, which used to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have grade 2 or band 2, which used to be 5, 6, 7, 8. Now there's only 2 bands, band 1 and band 2. So if Nicola wants to change the job, he's not changing. He's still in band 2. And that makes it a lot easier for people to move between jobs at the company, right? So the traditional method of compensation was many different job titles and many different salary grades. As companies get bigger, everybody gets a job title, And if you get a promotion, your promotion could be you move from assistant to the manager to assistant manager, right? So it's a very small movement, but there's so many job titles. And each title has its own grades and its own steps for salary. And instead, the modern way to do this is to just make a few big bands, right? So the point of this, the primary objective, is to pay people for what they contribute instead of having these grades where everybody has a grade. We want to emphasize skills. We want to emphasize competencies. We want to emphasize upward, lateral, and even, like we said with Nicola, downward movement without stigma, right? Without looking bad or feeling bad. If Nicola was at grade 6 and now he's moving to grade 4, and Jody is his coworker, and Jody says, "Oh, Nicola, you're an idiot. You're moving down 2 pay grades." We want to get rid of that. We don't want that pressure. We want really this to be focused on contributions. If you're better and happier in a different position in our company, let's not worry about these pay grades. You know, you can still be paid a similar amount of money. This is just trying to remove titles. So an example of this was, I want to say Netflix. I'm pretty sure Netflix did this. I might be getting that wrong, but I think it was. What they did is every single person who works at Netflix is an executive account manager. They got rid of the whole junior manager, senior manager, department manager, you know, junior executive manager, senior exec. They just got rid of it all. Everybody wants to be an executive manager. You're all an executive manager. And that's great, because then when you move to a new job, you keep your job title. On your resume, you are an executive manager. So that's kind of a popular thing to do these days, to get rid of these ideas of titles being so important. So if you want to get promotions, you have improved performance. That's it. We're trying to eliminate levels. The disadvantages, obviously, if the band is so big, it's hard to get into the next band, because, you know, there's such a big difference. It could be 20,000 a year all the way to 60,000 a year is one band. But that's the idea, is to really get rid of these traditional titles. And it would look like this, right? So we used to have this grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6. Now, instead, we just have band 1, band 2. That's it. Okay. Now, let's say that oh, Ethan's here. Hey, Ethan. I can't hear you.
That's my, I use ExpressVPN, and it's kind of giving me grief yesterday and today. So I connected to Singapore, and I got that to connect. So it's
That's good. VPN. You need VPNs to use Zoom?
Yeah, to use Zoom, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I can use like the Jumo no problem here, but
Oh.
I have to use a VPN to connect to Zoom.
I used Jumu recently and had all kinds of problems with it.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan.
Same but different.
How much money do I need to pay you to make you work harder in this class? Per month.
Per month.
Give it to me in RMB.
I'm not greedy, so
That's a bad start. Just give me your price. What's
well,
your
if
price?
we have 4 classes a month, say 1,200 a month, 300
Really?
a class. Yeah. Why not?
All right. All right. At least that's clear. Harry, how about you? You more or less money than Ethan to work harder in this class?
If we have a choice, I'll choose as much as I can. I'll start high. I'll say,
would you do it for less than 1,200? Did you say 5,000? You just said. My God.
Well, it can only go down from there, can't it?
Constance, are you there?
Yes.
Please tell me you're going to give me a better price. What's your price to work harder in this class?
It's night classes for me, so I don't know. In France, it's double pay for that.
Well, right now you get 0.
You're literally paying to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. 2,000?
2,000. You guys are crazy. That's a lot of money.
I seem like a deal now, Dave. I'm a deal.
Yeah, unbelievably, you now seem like a deal. I can't believe that's happened. So the point of asking a question like this is, would it be worth it? You know, what if I got paid as a teacher based on the productivity of the students? And I got a big bonus if you guys were more productive. Well, would it be worth it then for me to pay you guys to work harder? Because then, I mean, if the bonuses match, if I give everybody whatever, $1,200 a month and everybody works harder, and then the entire class is so much more productive and I get a big bonus, that would be great. So the idea here is called gain sharing. So this is this idea of at least $100. But gain sharing, the idea is we're trying to improve productivity. We're trying to improve performance. So we have a goal in dollars or in RMB or in whatever. And our goal in traditional gain sharing is what the employees cost versus what you bring in. So if it costs me a certain amount each month to hire you guys and pay you guys, and then each month, let's say it costs $10,000 each month to hire all of my employees and pay all of my costs for this business. And then we bring in $12,000 a month. So we're making $2,000 profit each month. Now, if we could bring in more money, we bring in $15,000 a month, I'll take that extra $3,000 and I'll share it between all of you. Or instead, what if we can't make more money because right now is a bad financial time? What if you could lower the cost? Maybe we all work from home and we don't rent our building. Maybe we, I don't know, we don't use as much heat or water. Maybe we let some employees work part-time. You guys find a way, or we together find a way to lower our costs. Now, instead of $10,000 a month, it only costs us $6,000 a month. That $4,000 that we saved, I share most of that between you guys. So whatever we gain, I will share that with the employees. Now, the benefit here is I'm telling the employees either lower costs or raise profits. Either way, you'll make more money as a group. This could be very effective, for example, in restaurants, to tell waiters and the staff, if you guys either lower costs or you raise profits, we'll share the gain with you. But the productivity must improve. And here we're measuring productivity as increased profits. Right, that's how we're measuring it. Christine, if you get a job in China after you graduate, do you think you should earn, where are you from, Christine? Where's your home?
Australia. Oh,
Australia.
Like currently, or?
No, Australia is fine. So probably a lot of salaries for managers are higher in Australia than in China.
Right.
I would guess. Do you think it's fair that if you get this manager job in China, you would be paid at the Chinese level, or should you be paid at the Australian level?
I think it should be almost the same, I feel like.
You should earn the Australian level?
Sorry?
The Australian level.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, not exactly like the Australian level, but I feel like it should be in the same range or something like that.
Why?
I mean, it's the same job. I know that
Sure.
like it's different here. I mean, the salary is lower here, but it's the same job, so I feel
Sure.
like it should be.
It is absolutely the same responsibilities, the same education required, the same job. Anybody feel that they could disagree with this and think you should earn the local salary?
Yeah, I disagree.
Why?
Because I mean, you're working in that country. The cost of living is different. The minimum pay is different. You can't expect to be paid what you'd be paid at home, or else you should have just went home and worked there.
Okay, so that's true too. The environment is different. What other people get is different. You know, one of the issues is if you get paid the Australian amount in Shanghai, that's great for you, but maybe not great for all the other managers who are Chinese who see that.
There's a very real reason why these people get these rates, right? Like,
what do you mean?
As an expat.
Yeah, as an expat,
like
it's different.
There's like, I mean, there has to be incentive to go somewhere else.
Okay,
right? I agree.
So
I think
I know this as a child of an expat that you get incentivized to go, right?
Sure.
It's almost like they'll give you the carrot to go somewhere else.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and then they'll give you some more just to stay there. And then like the idea is you could be doing this somewhere else and you are going to do this somewhere else in future time. Maybe you go back, maybe you go somewhere else. So we're just going to give you more now and more later.
Now, I would say
being flexible.
What you're describing is true for most higher level employees. You're talking about like a supervising manager or above, especially someone who's brought to China or brought to another country, that they were already working at their home country, kind of at this level, and they were then brought over.
Yeah.
Now, I totally agree. They get what we would call the expat package, right? They get the incentive, an excellent salary, maybe a house that's rented for them, a car with a driver, all of these different things that are excellent healthcare, all of these things in the expat package, probably live in an expat community as well. They don't have to, but many do. Right now, what about if you graduated CIP and just got a job? It was your first job. What do you think, Jonathan? Should you be paid a German salary, or should you be paid?
Well, it depends, right? I know a friend of mine, he went from CIP directly to a Chinese company, and they gave him a Chinese pay package, like completely what a manager would get from a Chinese university that works at that company. Well, it was a German company, but I mean, he still got what his other colleagues would get as well.
Sure.
And then again, I also know people who went back and then got a job in Germany and then came back again, who got a very good pay package, which was more in line of the expat treatment, even though they had lower level jobs as, you know, a very executive type of
Absolutely.
person. So yeah, both exist. I think it's more of a, if you come from CIP, it's more of a preference thing. You want to upheave yourself twice in a row just to be at the same point again for some money, or do you want to, you know, stay here and take the cut and try to work yourself up again?
It totally depends on what your goal is for the next sort of 5-year plan or 10-year plan, what you're trying to achieve. There are benefits to working directly in China for a Chinese company. If that's the path you want to go on in the future, you can make a lot of money with that kind of experience. There are other benefits to get into a big company in your home country and get that package and then get sent to China. You know, part of the problem is you can't guarantee you'll get back to China. And it depends if you put down roots and stuff, but it is important. It is an important difference. Okay, that is everything on compensation. So let us now have our presentation. Anais, is that a dog? It is a dog. Hey, dog. Dog.
Sir?
Yeah?
Can you enable screen sharing?
Yeah, sorry, I was
Right
busy
now
with the
I'm
dog.
enabled.
Okay, so you guys are doing a presentation, yes, about HRIS. Cool.
Okay, yeah, we're doing a presentation about HRM software. What we're going to cover is basically, it's going to work. Okay, a short introduction, a description of what this type of software is and does, some market leaders, some free options, and yeah, that's basically it. So basically, what an HRM software is what we learned in HRM, all those 5 functions, which I will go into detail in just a second, wrapped into a software package, right? So like what you do as an HR manager in a software suite. So this can be very extensive, can be very basic, right? I'm sure a lot of people still use Excel, but then again, there are other ways to do it. And a couple of positives for those softwares is basically that they're made for the exact task at hand. So you're going to be faster, you're going to have a faster workflow, you're going to be able to do more with less, and you're going to be able to help your employees better as well, and as well as ease of sharing, right, around the company that you work for. So yeah, so what basically most software does concerning HR is, as I said, using these 5 basic functions that we use, as well as the other ones. So planning, organizing, staffing, leading, controlling, compensating, all that stuff, and putting them into modules, right, that you can use. So you'll have a time and attendance module, you have a benefits module, you have an HR management module, a training module, stuff like that. And basically, you will use all the functions of that module to basically just accomplish your task as an HR manager. And then you can also have stuff like employee self-service module, like maybe a grading section in CIP would be something comparable, right? That you can look at as a student. So you will be able to look at this employee self-service module as a normal employee as well. So you don't have to go to the HR manager with every problem that you have, or maybe just check out some quick things. But basically, all these modules are just parts of the software that are used to process and to help you with your job. Yeah, so now Harry will talk about the market leaders. Harry?
Okay, thank you. All right, so I've chosen 3 market leaders for HRM software. I kind of like categorized it into like 3, like the size of your business. So Bamboo HR focuses on small and growing businesses. Zenefits is more for like medium-sized businesses, and then Sage is for multinational. Okay, so Bamboo HR. So this is for small and growing companies. So the system includes an applicant tracking system, time tracking, payroll processing, benefits administration, employee engagement, and employee satisfaction tools, automated reminders, and workforce data analytics to manage all aspects of employee lifecycle. The system is used to improve hiring processes, onboard new employees, manage compensation, maintain and analyze employee data, and develop company culture. The pricing is like a subscription-based model. So it depends on the number of employees, and there's also an implementation fee. And they have mobile app as well, which is also available to like recruit and hiring. Okay, next slide. So Zenefits is, so this is like an all-in-one HR software. As I said, it's for like medium-sized businesses. It covers most of the benefits that I just mentioned. And all the solutions are put together in a very easy to manage platform. And it actually is complemented with access to help from actual human advisors as well. So benefits is excellent user experience and thorough employee records. In terms of BA, the functionality is much more in depth than the Bamboo HR. So the system can be overwhelming for very small businesses, So this is why it's best suited for medium size. Okay, next one. So the last one is Sage Business Cloud People. This one's for larger businesses and enterprises. They'll benefit most from this system. It's designed for the needs of multinational companies with extensive configurability and also 24/7 online and phone support. The system may require about 90 days to get analytics, payroll, and reporting up and running. So the length of time might not be suitable for smaller startups with like smaller teams of employees. Also, the system joins vendors that support different currencies and currency exchange rates, the public holidays of all countries, languages, and payroll tax laws. So it's perfect for multinational companies with the need and time to invest in this level of functionality. The price is quite high, but it's a case of you get what you pay for, basically. Okay, okay, we'll move on to Landry now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about the free option. So normally there's no such thing as free HRM software, but they are just version of software with limited function, allowing company to experience the software and pushing users to purchase the full version. But the limited version can be used for small companies with not a lot of employees and do not have a budget allocated for an HRM software. So according to the function available on the free version, we have identified the top 3 free HRM software. Next slide. So first of all, there's Paytrix 24. It's on the full version, there's 34 HR tools and a capacity to be used in a company of more than 1,000 employees. The free version of Paytrix offers 24 HR tools out of the 35. Among the tools are customer relationship, tax project management, communication center, data administration. But the cons are that it is limited to 12 users, and there's only 5 gigabytes of storage available, which means as the company grows, it will soon need to upgrade to the paid version. And next slide. This is some of the function that you could get from the Paytrix. And next we have the Web HR. It serves a company of all size, ranging from 2 employees to 1,000 of them. The software utility are like time and attendance tracking, employee record, onboarding, leave tracking, etc. With the free version, you get access to the full version of the software, but it's only available for 5 users. Next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the features you could get, such as payroll, dashboard, built-in messenger, and all that. Next one, and the last one, is Zoho People. It's suitable for all kinds of businesses. The free version comes with enough tools to manage a small size company, such as personal tracking, absence management, and it also has an app version available on smartphones. The free version also allows users to have a maximum of 5 employees and has a storage data capacity of 250 megabytes. Zoho People is a good start for a startup company with a low budget. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Great. Good information. Please, someone email that to me so I can put it online. I think that would be useful if people want to look at those, both if you wanted to look at them for information you could put on the final exam, but then also, especially those free versions, if you guys are running businesses, HRIS software, it's not a bad time to put in the investment of time at the beginning to learn a little about how to do it.
Can I send it to you on WeChat, or is email the only way?
Email's better.
Okay, sure. Okay, then I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay.
Great. Okay, let's start talking about the next subject, and
Hold on.
then
I had a question.
yes.
Nancy, when you were saying that you can only use 5 users, does that mean only 5 employees, or only 5 people can like be using it, as in 5 HR workers?
It's 5 employees.
Oh, so you can only like, okay, thank you. That was my question. Thank you. I'm done.
So this is the second part of talking about compensation. Here we talk about incentives and employee benefits. So we talked a little about this idea of motivation before, that the reason we compensate employees is to make sure that they are motivated. So we want to know a tiny bit about, or remind you a tiny bit about motivation, to understand what kind of benefits we would give. So what we're talking about now is not salary. We're not really talking about just salary anymore. We're talking about other benefits. So what motivates people? Well, some of this should be a review to you. Like, for example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That should be something everybody knows, right? So can you explain that to me? Juan, what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Are you familiar with this one?
Yeah, I am. Actually, this was the part of management I didn't quite got.
Okay. Somebody else explain it? Chandra, can you explain it?
The 5 basic things which need to be met as a human, like your shelter, food, and social relationship, those things.
Okay. I mean, that's sort of true. Anybody remember, what is this word? Prepotency. The prepotency principle. Anybody remember that? Prepotency says, before anybody wants social relationships, they want security. And before anybody wants security, they want their daily physical needs. That level 2 requires level 1 is completed. Level 5 requires level 4 is completed. That's called prepotency. And the key idea of Maslow was not only that there are 5 levels of what people need, but also that these levels have an order. That was a really big part of his idea. So that the first level is things we need to live today. Food, water, shelter, things like that. The next level is things we need to live today and tomorrow and the next day and, you know, this week, this month, this year. And that's like a salary, money coming in, some sort of security of a place to live, shelter, not just shelter for tonight, not just food for tonight. And if you don't have the stuff you need for today, you don't care about next month. You care about today. Then if you have this security for today, for next month, then, and only then, do we get to the third level. Now, it's interesting that this is, because Maslow said this is not cultural, that it doesn't matter what culture you're from, every human is like this. But studies have shown that in some countries, 3 and 2 are switched. And some countries emphasize social relationships. Think of something like the Eskimos in Alaska. You know, there's an emphasis on, first, of course, you need food and shelter today. And then after that, you need a family. You need a support network. Like it's 2 and 3 are switched in some cultures. But if you don't have 1, 2, 3, then nobody really thinks about number 4, which is self-esteem. And if you don't have number 4, then nobody thinks about self-actualization. So it's not just that there are 5 levels, it's that there's prepotency. Does that make sense, Juan?
Yeah.
What does
Yeah, it does.
prepotency mean? Can you explain?
It's the hierarchy, like the first thing you need, like for example, psychological, and then security.
Physiological.
Yeah.
You said psychological.
I'm
Psychological
sorry,
is the mind.
I was, yeah, I'm sorry,
Right?
I was zoned out.
So psychology is the mind. Physiology is the body.
Okay.
So you need number 1 in order to want number 2. That was Maslow's idea. So that's the first thing we need to understand about the hierarchy of needs, is when we're talking about benefits and compensation and incentives and things we can give to employees, there's no sense in giving them a number 5 benefit if they don't have number 3. There's no sense in giving them a number 4 benefit if they don't have number 2. If you're working at McDonald's and you don't have a lot of security, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a long-term plan, do you care about learning how to paint? That maybe level 5 benefit? Maybe not. You know, we have to recognize as managers that the benefits we give, whether it's training, evaluations, compensation, whatever it is, has to match the level of what people need. In addition to this, we can separate what we give people into 2 categories. This was based on Herzberg. There's hygiene and motivator, extrinsic and intrinsic. Can you tell me, Bella, what's the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic?
Well, that is like external stuff, like physical stuff, like money and a job. And the other one is more like experience and like feedback.
Okay, which would you rather have?
Both.
Yeah, good. That's a good answer because it is a trick question. Of course you want both. Because what Herzberg said is that these 2 things are totally different. And hygiene, which is the same as extrinsic, all the outside things, like Bella said, money, a nice office, a nice car, nice clothes, a good salary, a beautiful location to work, comfortable air conditioning, a nice chair, all of those things, your working conditions, stuff like that. That is about being dissatisfied. If you have this stuff, then you are not dissatisfied. But it is possible to be not dissatisfied and also not satisfied. Bella, can you explain that? How is it possible to be not dissatisfied, so you have all this stuff, but not satisfied? So you have all of this stuff, but you don't have this. Can you think of some sort of example of that?
Well, like I am not unhappy that I am not unhappy that I have a job that like I can earn a lot of money, but I am also not very happy because I don't like my job.
Sure, exactly. So it could be that you don't like your job, right? That would be the content. It could be that you work every day and you work really, really hard and you get a good salary. And let's say I'm your boss and I have never said good job to you. I just see you and I say, Bella, there's more work to do. Go do the work. Now you get a very good salary, but there's no feedback. Nobody ever says good job. Or you get a really good salary, but nobody recognizes you. You get no recognition. These things are very internal. And one thing that was important about what Herzberg said is the internal high-level things are insatiable. What does that mean, Anais? Insatiable.
It's
Higher
like
level
you
means
can't get enough.
exactly. We can't get enough happiness, right? If somebody says good job, they could say it every single day. It's great. If you get recognition for doing good work, you could get that every day. It's great. There's never too much. However, hygiene factors, extrinsic, is satiable. So what does that mean, Chandra? Hygiene factors or extrinsic motivation is satiable.
I don't know how to explain it.
Well, Anais just told us the opposite. What is insatiable, Chandra?
Sorry, I was not really concentrating. Sorry.
Okay, Anais, can you tell us again?
So insatiable means that you can't get enough.
Insatiable means you can't get enough.
Oh.
There's never too much. So, Chandra, what does it mean to say hygiene factors are satiable?
So it means it doesn't satisfy the lower level of need.
Well, it just means that it's possible to get enough.
To have enough.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible to have enough money. Where, of course, people want more money, but
so you are saying like it's possible to get enough salary. Like my boss pay me 100, and if he gave me 200, say no, 100 is enough.
Well, I wouldn't say it exactly like that. I would say, imagine that you make $300,000 per year. And if you work harder, you could make $350,000 per year.
Yes.
Do you care about, does that $50,000? Okay, then maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe the number has to be $700,000. And you could earn 750, and then maybe you care. Maybe the number is 3 million. People earn lots of money. If you earn $20 million a year, do you care about an extra 50,000?
Yeah, no, I would say like both are insatiable.
Maybe. I mean, people are different.
Yeah, but if the
situations
effort
are different.
No, I think at some point money doesn't, it's like, it's not that important anymore. Like if I get to a point where I'm making $1 billion a month, like I don't need $50,000 bonus. Like I don't need that anymore.
Depends. If you earn 1 billion, you have like airplane. So maybe you need more.
I said 1 billion a month.
A
month. Do you know how much 1 billion a month is? Nah,
I don't know, but the more you have, the more you expand. I mean, this is my point of view, because for me, both are insatiable.
I recommend a YouTube video that I saw that compares the amount of money Bill Gates has to rice, where each grain of rice is $10,000.
Oh my God.
And he shows in this video how much the average person makes. If you make $50,000, a year, that's 5 grains of rice per year. And then he shows how much money Bill Gates has per year. And he had to go to the store to buy bags and bags of rice because there's a mountain of it. And he showed how much money Bill Gates' new house was. That was like $364 million. And it was like a handful of rice. Compared to the mountain of rice, it's nothing. Now, if Bill Gates has that mountain of rice, does he care about 5 grains of rice?
Nah.
Yes, he does, because that's how he got the mountain.
That's true. Billionaires don't just stop earning money. You know, look at Warren Buffett. I mean, they're out there playing it like it's a game. So it's true that it might be relatively insatiable. However, studies in sociology have shown that the overall utility, the satisfaction created by more money after you hit a certain point goes to very little satisfaction. That's the law of diminishing returns. So as you're earning more money, you're getting more satisfaction. There comes a point where it starts to like get flat. You're just not getting much more satisfaction. I mean, you still get satisfaction, you're winning a game, but not the same way you or I would get satisfaction if we're getting up to that point. So anyway, this is the point of Herzberg, is that it's not that there's a right or wrong, it's that when we think about compensating people, when we think about giving our employees benefits or incentives, we want to consider having a balance of giving them extrinsic things, a new chair, a nice office, a bonus, and also giving them some internal things, feedback, content, recognition, stuff like that. Next theory to think about for compensation is expectancy theory. So this was Victor Vroom, and he said that there are 3 relationships that we need in order to be satisfied, in order to be motivated: expectancy, instrumentality, and valence. So the first relationship is expectancy. And this says, if we work harder, you'll achieve more. Now, if you work harder and you don't achieve more, then there's no reason to work harder. So if Jonathan studies for 20 minutes and I give him an A on the test, and Jody studies for 20 hours and I give him an A on the test, and you guys realize, oh, it doesn't matter if I study, I'm going to get an A, most people then would stop studying. Now, some people would continue to study. Those people are called high achievers, according to McClellan's theory of needs. They're high NACH. And some people, they study and they learn because it feels good to achieve. And it does, you know, but a lot of people need a connection between I work harder and I achieve more. If you work harder and you don't achieve more, why work harder? That's the first one. That's expectancy. So when we give some sort of benefit or an incentive to an employee, if they didn't get it because they worked harder, they lose motivation. If I say, okay, Jonathan, you came into work early every day this month and you really worked so hard. Jody came late almost every day, and I'm going to give you guys both training. I mean, that's going to demotivate Jonathan because it's unfair. He worked really hard. He gets the same thing as someone who didn't work hard. So we have to think about giving people benefits based on their work. Then there's instrumentality, which says, is there a connection between you achieved more and you get something? So this is the same idea. If you work harder and you achieve more, great. But if you don't get some benefit as a result of achieving more, then why achieve more? So if you study for 20 hours and you learn everything, and then I give you the test, and the test is super easy, and I give you the same grade, again, there's no reason to work for 20 hours. Even if you did achieve more, you didn't get any sort of reward. So the benefit or the incentive that we give to employees needs to be made clear that if you work harder, you will achieve more. And if you achieve more, you will get a reward. Now, I had a friend in China who worked for the Chinese government in an office and said that they did in an 8-hour day about an hour of work. And then they would just sit around and look at Taobao and play with their phones, and they had nothing to do. Now, if I said to those people as the HR manager, if you come early every day, I'll give you a reward, that wouldn't really motivate people because you're missing the first relationship, expectancy. If they work harder, they still won't achieve more. There has to be a situation where you're working harder, not just for the prize. You're working harder to achieve more, and because you achieve more, you get the prize. That's really important for humans. If we just work for a prize, the prize is not as meaningful as if we work hard, achieve more, get the prize. adding that step of achievement, even if it's fake. Now, if you read books on management, they talk a lot about baby steps, goal setting, things like this. Now, you could give yourself a goal that's really easy to do. I'm going to do 5 push-ups today. And if I do that, I get a prize. That prize will still be more valuable to you because you did something to earn it, as opposed to if I wake up today at any time, I get a prize. The third relationship is called valence. And valence says the prize needs to be something you want. So if I give the employees a benefit of having training, what if I give them time management training and they don't want that? Then they have no motivation to work hard, to achieve more, because who cares? They don't want the prize. So there have to be these 3, according to Victor Vroom. I'm not saying this is 100% true. This is just Vroom's theory. 2 other theories, and then we'll take our break. One is behavior reinforcement, right? So this is, what's his name? Forgetting his name. Reinforcement theory. See if I remember it later. So behavior modification or reinforcement theory says that this is like using animals, like Pavlov's dogs, something like that, where if the employees do something good and we give them an immediate positive reward, then they will continue to do good things. So let's say, for example, every time one of you comes to class on time and I say, oh my God, thank you so much. You are a good student. You're a really good student. You know, whatever, that might over and over and over the semester, that might reinforce the positive behavior, but it has to be immediate. If I wait until the end of class and then say, okay, all of you guys who came on time, really good job, it doesn't mean anything. The reward has to be immediate. And this is a common thing that managers don't realize is when there's positive behavior, they then say, okay, well, if you guys, you know, let's say you smile and talk to the customer nicely today, at the end of the month, you'll get a prize. Nobody cares. They want it now because we're animals and we want it. You can't say to a dog, if you're a good boy, I'll give you a treat in 30 days. It's the same reasoning. You know, the dog wants the treat now. And we're just the same way. We want the treat now. And it works the same for punishments. If people have, B.F. Skinner, that was the name of the scientist. So B.F. Skinner did a lot of experiments with animals, rats and mice and dogs and things like that, and found that as long as the reward or punishment is immediate. So in this sense, as managers in HR, we need to think about giving benefits and giving incentives that are immediate. So many managers think about giving something at the end of the month, a bonus at the end of the month, training next month, just something that is in 30 days. And they don't have anything to give right now. But what if you see an employee do something really good? They help out another employee or they treat a customer very well. As HR, we should have this prepared with some incentives that we can give right now. Or if somebody does something bad, some sort of punishment. Now, we in HR don't always give the punishment or the reward. Sometimes the manager will give it, but we're still the ones that design it. And then the final theory is called equity theory. This is Adams' theory. And it talks about, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but you probably remember, this is pretty basic. People are not happy if someone else earns more than they do, or if someone gets more than they do for the same work. So if I'm doing some work and Jody has the same job as me, and Jody, even if I love my salary and I love my job, if I find out Jody makes more money than me, there's a chance that I would be dissatisfied because it's not equitable. It's not fair. And we all have this internal gauge or compass inside of us that wants things to be balanced and fair. So external and internal still is outside the company versus inside the company. But equity is this idea of what I get and what someone else gets should be kind of fair. Or at least, let's say that in our company, Juan got a reward. He got training to go into the management pool. So he's going to get training that will move him on a management path. And Harry didn't get it. Well, that's not fair. And we can understand that Harry would be upset. But at the very least, there should be procedural equity, which means we should explain to Harry why he didn't get it and what he can do to get it next month. Right? And that's the idea of fairness. Fairness not only in what you give to people, distributive equity, but also fairness in how you explain things to people, procedural equity. What's the procedure of giving rewards or giving bonuses or benefits? Okay, any questions on those? Okay, let's take a 10-minute break then.
Okay.
We are now recording again. So I'd like to start, now that we're talking about the incentives and benefits, let's start with it's not the Carter Cleaning Company, but a similar sort of little case study. And let me put that in the chat. Okay, so the file is there. It's called Team Concept Compensation. So I'll ask you to download that. It is just the bottom of, it's just, you know, two paragraphs or 2 sides. Just read that and then let's talk about it.
Feedback. So it's, since everyone is responsible for someone else's evaluation, I think it should be kind of like a team-based pay. I agree with what he said.
Okay. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having some weird problem with my headphones. Well, so it sounds, I just won't use them. It sounds like you guys are saying this from sort of a strategic position, that they made this rule, and if they go in and make another rule immediately or take away their first rule, it looks bad, it looks disorganized. But what about just from the point of, is this an effective way to pay people? Jody, do you think this is an effective method to pay?
For the 360-degree?
Well, just because this company really wants to do team-based work with this idea that everybody's really an owner of the company.
So I think the previous one is better, the team-based pay.
So you think team-based pay is good?
Yeah, for the company, for the employees to work, because they can give the result for the company. If the result is good, then they can gain a good salary.
Hey, Nicola, would you like in this class to get team-based grades?
This is very controversial to me, but because I'm prone to collectivity, so yes. But on the other hand, this is complicated because some people put more efforts in studies, so maybe they
but it won't matter.
Would have more Yeah. So that's the complicated thing.
Now, if you're in a team with a few people and you want a good grade and nobody's doing anything, you better do it.
Yeah, exactly. So it tends to demotivate people to put more effort than another one because the grade will be the same.
So what if instead I give you a grade based on 360-degree evaluation? So your part of it will be decided by me, but part of it will be decided by the other students. They will have input into your grade. Would you like the other students to determine your grade?
No, especially now that we are online. They cannot see my effort. They maybe personally it's much feasible, but online I think it's
well, and there's other problems too. Couldn't you after class make a deal with Jody that you'll give him grade and he'll give you the top grade, but you didn't make that deal with Christine? Or if you're angry at Juan today for whatever reason and you decide to give him a D, even though he didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
There's so much subjective power that people have when you use 360-degree compensation. Now,
this is why sometimes the like a teacher, if they want to mark someone from their work, like if there is a teamwork assignment, the teacher will give like individual mark, and then there is a teamwork mark.
It's very hard. As someone who has for years given a teamwork assignment in organizational behavior class, I don't think I've ever had a semester where students didn't complain about it and say, but teacher, this student didn't work hard and why should they get the same grade? Or teacher, I did all the work, or, it always happens. And the point of the assignment is for people to just see that there's always someone on the team who isn't working the way you want them to work, because it's a team, not an autocracy. It's not that you're the manager and you tell everybody what to do. You're all the owners, you're all the managers, you're equal. And so in that sense, it's very hard for people to work together. So you can understand why people were not happy about this decision to be paid by team performance, because with the 360-degree appraisal, there's so much politics with who's going to vote for who to have a good grade, or in this case, a high payment. And then with the team, you have the Ringelmann effect. If you guys remember that from OB class, if anybody took it, that's where they had done an experiment where people were pulling a rope connected to a wall, connected to a scale on the wall. If anybody remembers this, what happened when they added more and more people? So if one person pulled the rope with 6 pounds of pressure, and then they had 2 people, it should be 12 pounds. 3 people, it should be 18 pounds if it's 6 pounds per person. But what they found out is the more people you add, the less each person does. So if you had 1 person, it was 6 pounds. 2 people, it was like 10 pounds. 3 people, it was like 14 pounds. The total amount goes up because you have more and more people, but the individual contribution goes down, right? And that is called the Ringelmann effect. And it's because we always think someone else is going to do the work for us. That if I'm alone, I need to do all the work. I need to do my best. I want to get an A. But if there's 3 of us or 4 of us or 5 of us, well, I expect them to do some of the work. So I'm not working as hard as I otherwise would. Not everybody is like this, but it's very common for this to happen. So
in general,
think about, sorry?
In general, it's like this, I would say.
Yeah, it's very common. And so we definitely need to think about this stuff as we talk about how we are going to use compensation. Do we want our compensation to be by teams? So, okay, now we're going to talk about incentives. We won't finish this today, but we should be able to get into it. Now, the first thing is what we've already talked about pretty much, which is, going back, no, maybe I already took this out. Okay. So we already talked about variable pay, so we don't need to talk about that again. Variable pay, again, is the idea of risk, that there's some sort of risk. We already talked about merit pay, which is you get some sort of salary increase based on your performance. There's also piecework. We didn't really talk about that. Piecework is the oldest plan that exists. I mean, 1600s, 1500s. And that is very simple. You produce one piece, you get this much money. You produce two, you get this much money. You produce three, you get, it's just, you get a certain amount of money per piece you do. And it's still used today. We saw it in the Carter Cleaning Company, that they decided to pay some people by the number of shirts that they ironed. And for every shirt, they got a certain amount of money. That's piecework. And of course, if you're doing manufacturing, if I have a company that's selling shoes and the shoes need to be hand painted, okay, I pay you $2 per shoe. You do 10, you get $20. You do 20, you get $40. Just that's it, $2 per shoe. That's not going to be very useful to us. You know, what's going to be more useful to us are things like in HR, being able to teach a manager how to use especially non-financial recognition-based awards. These ideas of intrinsic. Extrinsic, that's easy. I mean, it's easy to understand, right? Give people more money, give people a bonus, give people nicer chairs, repaint the office, have a new elevator, a new security guard, you know, whatever, just make external things nicer, make the working conditions nicer. That's easy to understand. What's a little harder to explain to managers is how do you give people a reward that's not financial? How do you give people a reward that isn't tangible? So one example of this is called recognition-based. And a recognition-based award is not financial. It's making sure that people know who this person is. If you did a good job, making sure that everybody knows that you did a good job. So an employee of the month is like a common example of a recognition program. There could be social recognition, and that's more informal. So if you're doing a good job and I just come up and said, hey, Bella, you did a really good job recently, I just want to let you know, that's it. That's just praise. Praise or approval or appreciation. Managers really do need to be taught this. It's not common sense that a manager should go up to people and say, good job, or I appreciate your work, or thank you for all the hard work. And then there's also feedback. Feedback is not just saying good job, but actually giving either quantitative or qualitative information. Saying for quantitative, saying like this month you made 10% increase in customer satisfaction, or you made a 10% increase in profitability. This is quantitative, it has a number. Qualitative.
David,
sorry?
May I ask something? So if social recognition looks like pretty much easy, and it's just like a compliment. So why do you think it's so difficult to have it in a company?
I would say a lot of managers, so this kind of goes to the Stanford prison experiment, if you remember that. And that was an experiment where the scientist got a bunch of students and put them into a fake prison where half of them were guards, half of them were prisoners. And so, forgetting the name of the scientist right now. It starts with a Z, I think. But so anyway, he put these people into these roles. Your role is prisoner and his role is guard. And what they found is that people started to really get into character and really play the role. And the prisoners really started acting either very weak or very angry, and the guards started to act very mean. It's very similar with a lot of jobs, that say, okay, Nicola, you're the manager of our class. A lot of people have this idea of what a manager is, just like an idea of what a prisoner is or what a guard is. And they think a manager is tough and hard.
Yeah.
And so they come into the office and they say, okay, Christine, that was good, but you know, you came 5 minutes late. You can't do that. Not when I'm manager, not, you know, like, and they act this way. The fact is you really need training or experience to understand that that's not how someone who is really confident as a manager might act. They don't, a lot of people use fear and anger and yelling and stuff like that because they're afraid that the employees will see that they don't know what they're doing. You know,
okay.
In my experience and from my research, when you see people who are very angry at work, usually that is a defense mechanism. They're angry because they are afraid that someone will see that they don't know what they're doing. People who are really good at their jobs, there's no need to be angry. They're usually very supportive.
Confident.
Yeah, they're very confident. There's no need to be defensive. You know, so it is something that we really do in HR. We need to be able to instruct managers that you don't have to feel confident to do confident person behaviors. So a boss might come up to the employees and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know that was a really good proposal. I'm really grateful for the work you do here. You need to be confident to really do that in life, to just walk up to people and say like, hey, good job. I mean, when the last time you told one of your friends you were proud of them?
Yeah.
It's pretty rare for us to tell people we're proud of them unless they're automatically below us. We'll say it to a child. We'll say it to somebody if they work for us, maybe. But to be able to actually say that to someone, it takes a lot of confidence. So these are, you know, valuable stuff to be able to do it. So there's lots of ways to do it. It's not only praise. You know, praise, things like encouragement are important, but there's a lot of other things we can give for social recognition. You know, an Employee of the Month award or a bigger desk or a bigger office, you know, a special award. Those are nice, but there's other stuff we can do. For example, some people want more challenge. If I say, hey, you did really well last week, I'd like to give you a much harder assignment because I trust you and I respect you. That's social recognition. I'm recognizing that I trust you, giving you more freedom. We have a bunch of assignments this week. I'd like you to choose which one you want to work on. There's a bunch of teams. I'd like you to choose which team you'd like to be on. The ability to set your own goals. Leaving people a note. Maybe not saying it in public, but just leaving a note in their mailbox. When you're giving presentations, allowing this employee to shadow you. You know, to come with you to a meeting, to come with you to a presentation, maybe to be involved, is a real recognition of what a good job this person has done. You're not telling anybody, but everybody can see it. Job rotation. So letting this person try another job for a couple of months or a couple of weeks. You know, saying you're doing a really good job. I'd like you to get a better understanding of how our whole business works. What would you think about going to marketing for the next 2 days and just kind of shadowing them and seeing what they do? That's recognition, because I think you're doing a good job. I want to give you this benefit. Doesn't cost any money for me to do that. I mean, I guess you could say I lose a little productivity because you're not here for 2 days, but it might be better than a vacation. Learning and continuous improvement, giving you training, giving you courses, anything like that. There's a lot of stuff we can give to people. Now, this is generally for individuals, right? This is what we're giving to individuals, not teams. For salespeople, we usually still do give commissions, right? And so we talked about this before. We all know what a commission is. If you sell something, you get part of the profit from selling that. Managers and executives don't usually get commissions, really. That's not how managers work. Managers and executives might get other benefits like we said before, stock options, right? Everybody remember what, commission, a very common commission is 70% salary, 30% commission. That's pretty common. Stock options, we said, is the right to purchase stock. It is not stock. You're not giving people stock. We'll talk about that in a little bit in this subject, but we also can just give stock options.
Is that the one the employer give the like it's not money but give the stock to the employees?
Well, you're not giving stock. Giving stock is called ESOP. We'll get to ESOP just in like 2 minutes. So giving stock is called ESOP. This is not giving stock. Can you explain, Constance? Are you here? What is stock options?
Stock option is when you having a part, like a share of the company's like benefits.
Almost sounds like you're describing stocks.
Is the option same as the
same as
put
finance?
option, like call,
Yeah.
like call option?
Exactly.
Okay, I mean,
it's like a derivative.
Similar. A call option is a little bit different, but yes, a call option is the right.
No, I mean the same option, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a call option. Why do you play the market? You know what call options are?
No, we have it in international finance.
Yeah.
You learn about call options?
Yes.
Pretty useful. You learn
call, put, forward contracts, futures.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know you learned
swap.
that. That's good stuff.
Oh,
okay.
Jamal's class.
So yes, in that sense, you're correct. It's like a call option. So Bella, what does a call option let you do?
Well, just as written here, it gives you the right to buy something, like a specific amount of something for a specific price during a specific period of time.
Good. Yeah, so it's just like this. So you have the right to buy the stock. Do you own the stock right now? No.
No.
What you own now is a contract that gives you the right to buy the stock, but you don't own the stock now. You just own the right. And you have the right to buy the stock at a certain price for a certain amount of time. It could be, let's say the example I gave was like you can buy Apple stock, and right now the price is at $100 per share. So you can buy it at $100 per share, 10,000 shares for the next 5 years. Now, why would that be beneficial? Bella, why would that be something you'd want?
Well, because if later the stock price rises, you still have the right to buy it for a lower price.
Good. So if the price goes to $200, you can still buy it at the lower price. You can still buy all these shares at 100 and then immediately turn around and sell them for the higher price. And then you made money right there. And you're not giving you anything today. I'm giving you this right, but it doesn't cost me any money today. So it's a non-financial, I mean, it is financial because it's stocks, but it's a non-financial incentive.
So the company is paying the premium of the stock, of the option.
Well, the company is balancing that. If you are the manager and I give you this and the stock does go to $200, that's really my company. So yeah, you get a bonus there, but I mean, great, no problem. The company, I would never give you such an amazing deal that, you know, right now the price is 100 and you can buy the stock for $10. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I'm going to choose a number with the accounting department that makes sense, that if it hits that number, we're going to make a big profit. So it's worth it for us to get a bonus if you make it. It's like a KPI almost. Okay, so now talking about teams. We just did this reading, this sort of case study about why don't we give people teams? But the reason, of course, we said the main disadvantage is that if we give rewards to a team, it's not to the individuals. However, it still is done a lot because these days in business, we really do want teams to have some sort of benefit. So what we have mostly is it's sort of a mix of individual and team. Let's say that you guys are in a team. So the team is, Juan and Constance and Nicola and Bella. You guys are in a team. If your team does well, each of you will get an individual reward. So it's sort of the team, but it's also sort of individual. It's not just a team award because you'll each get a separate thing, but you get it because of the team. So one thing that's done this way is profit sharing. So if the team made money, then you'll all share in the profit, but you might not all get an equal share, but you'll all get something. There's also current profit sharing, and that's when the profits are done quarterly, right? It's not annual. Profit sharing is annual. Current profit sharing is usually quarterly, so every 3 months. Deferred profit sharing. Anytime you see the word deferred, that means pretty much retirement. So if you did well as a team, I'll put an extra $5,000 each into your retirement account. Now we are going to talk now a little bit now in next class about retirement and retirement accounts, because now we're in the part of HR where we're talking about things like that and benefits. So let's just understand, what's an average retirement age? Why do people want a retirement account? Things like that. What do you think, Harry? What's an average retirement age?
I think 65.
Okay, that's pretty common. It's a little younger in China and in a lot of Asian countries, a little older in America sometimes, but that's about the average age. Now, why, Harry, would somebody want, and we'll talk about this later, but a 401k, some sort of retirement fund?
So that when they do retire, they have money to live.
Okay, but why not just keep your money in the bank and save some? I know that's not the American way to save anything, but why not just save some money?
I don't know. People always want more money, don't they?
Okay.
Maybe because it's harder to save money, just have the retirement.
Yeah, maybe to avoid temptations.
Sure. There's always something new to buy, but can't you just take money out of your retirement account?
Well, I understand you don't until you retire, right?
But could you?
I think you can't. Well, I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, so you can.
I think depends.
You usually
if you buy a house, you can.
More money, but there's a big penalty. Now, there's a reason that happens, which is the money in your retirement account usually is not taxed. But you can't use it now. If you do, you're going to pay a very big fine, a very big penalty. Now, there's some other reasons too that we'll talk about, such as matching, which says a lot of companies, if you put money in your retirement account, the company will match it. So if I put $1,000 per month, sometimes my company will match it for 1/2. So I put in $1,000, they'll put in 500, but I can't take it out now. But if I keep doing that over time, because the company gets a tax benefit by doing this. So it's worth it to them. They have to pay taxes anyway. This is just like giving money to charity. They get a tax benefit for doing this, because the government wants to encourage companies to make sure their employees have money for retirement. Because if the employees don't, they're going to the government to try to get money. for unemployment, for Social Security, for Medicare, for Medicaid, and of course, I'm using American terms. All different countries have different terms, but any of these social benefits, if old people don't have enough money to live, they want social benefits from the government. So of course, it's in the government's interest to try to get companies to provide for people. And so they'll give tax benefits to the companies. So there are different kinds of retirement plans that we'll learn about, that we should know the basics in HR, and we can decide what we think the employees should get. So profit sharing is the first kind. Profit sharing plans do increase productivity, but not that much. So let's start talking about some of the most popular incentive plans that are used at companies in America. And these are organization-wide, so we give them to everybody, to individuals. Sometimes we give them to teams, depends on the group. So the first one I said is called ESOP. ESOP is where you give stock. This is not an option, this is stock. So you can do this. A lot of companies do this. When you come in, you get the stock. As I said before, you don't immediately get it. Anybody remember the term for what it's called when you have to wait?
Option. Oh.
Vest. Vest means a period of time you have to wait. So let's say you start to work at my company, and in HR, we give you 100 shares of stock or 1,000 shares of stock. You don't own them for 1 year. We're going to put it into a trust, which means it's safe, right? We don't need to get into the legal, this is a legal thing, but what is a trust? Anybody know? Anybody tell me what is a trust? Some kids who are rich have a trust fund.
It's like an account that you cannot use, something like that.
Sure,
no?
But it's safe. You can trust it.
Safe.
Yeah, you get it at a certain point. Usually for like rich kids, it's like when you turn 21 or something.
Sure, and they can't touch it until then, but they can trust it's safe. If I put money in a trust, I can't take it out. I don't own the money anymore. It belongs to the trust. And when you turn 18 or get married or work for me for 2 years or whatever, you get that. But I can't touch it. So a trust is a safe way to do this. So what the company will do is they'll put some stock into a trust. And that means the company can't take it back. It belongs to you. If you vest, you work for 2 years or 1 year or whatever, then the safe opens and you get the stock. And of course, we do this because we don't want somebody to take the job, get the stock, and immediately quit. We want you to earn that, right? So sometimes it's distributed on retirement. Sometimes it's on leaving the company. Sometimes it's if you've worked long enough, right? It could be 1 year, 2 years, retirement, when you quit, as long as you've worked 1 year, doesn't matter. But you can choose on an ESOP plan, employee stock ownership plan.
My wife's company do it. They allow her to purchase like 1 month salary a year of stocks, and in 3 years they double the amount of stocks. So let's see if the money can afford 1,000 stocks. In 3 years they give her 1,000 more.
They'll double it. That's a
and she can do whatever she wants in 3 months.
Yeah,
like
that's a
she
nice
can
benefit.
sell. It's really good.
There are lots of benefits, you know. In addition to doing that, the company also gets a tax deduction, right? This is because they're transferring it to a trust. They also get a tax deduction for any dividends paid on the stock, right? Dividend is money that is paid every month on a stock. And when you get these stocks, the employees are not taxed until you get the stock. And there's another one, which is a little complicated. We're going to learn about ERISA, which is something to do with retirement. But ERISA is a Retirement Income Security Act. So it's a law. And what the law says is the government will protect retirement funds. We'll see if they really continue in America, because this country is not doing great financially, but we'll see if they continue. But that's the idea. Just like the government will insure banks, they'll also insure retirements. And let's say my company, or Nicola, your wife's company, that money that they put in trust, the stock that they put in trust, even though they can't touch it, you know, it's in the bank, it's in trust, they can't touch it, they can use it to borrow money as an asset. So in case I have a business, if I want to borrow money, I need some sort of collateral, something to tell the bank, if I can't pay you, I'll give you this building, this car, this whatever. You can use the trust stocks as that. So it's very good. And then you can repay the loan in pre-tax dollars. I do not need you to know any of this for the exam. Okay, this is way too complex to ask you to understand anything about taxes or trusts. Just understand this is about giving employees stock. I would like you to know this idea of vesting. You know, I'd like you to know that when you give stock to people, to employees, they don't just get it right now, right? That wouldn't be very effective. They do need to vest. We already talked about gain sharing. The Scanlon plan is a very common gain sharing plan. Not going to ask you to know that, but the idea of gain sharing, remember, is if there is a gain in productivity. So either our profit goes up or our costs go down. Whatever we have gained, we'll share it with everybody. That's the idea. And this
It's like profit sharing, right?
Sorry?
Profit sharing.
Yeah, except it's not necessarily profit, it's gain.
Mm.
You know, it's not, because when you think of profit, you think of the money we made. This is more like the money we saved. If our costs go down, it's not really more net profit, it's just money we've saved. But we'll share that with everybody. And there's lots of different plans that you don't need to know. I just put one on here so you could see what it looks like, called the Scanlon plan. And the idea of this plan is to lose the us versus them attitude so that employees can have this sense of ownership, right? We all gain together. And to do this, the company's mission and purpose has to be very clear to all the employees. Employees have to have high levels of skill. You should have committees to give suggestions. And it has to be clear from the committees, right? So the point is, in the Scanlon plan, in gain sharing, the employees are very, very involved. You know, like if I wanted in this class, if I wanted our productivity to go up, it would not be effective if I told you what you have to do. It would be much more effective if we got into groups and talked about it, and I listened to your suggestions. And that's the idea of gain sharing, is you really let the employees tell you how you could, because they're the ones who know. You guys are the ones who know what brings productivity up or down in a class, because you're the students. We also talked about variable pay. That's the idea of at-risk pay, right? That's sort of having a KPI, and if you meet it, right? So you might put 5% at risk. If you meet the KPI, you get a 10% bonus. But if you don't, you stay at the lower level. We already talked about that. Okay, let's talk about general employee benefits. We're going to put this into two categories. One category will be benefits that are required, that you have to give to employees. And the other category will be things you don't have to give to employees, but many people do these days. However, we're almost at time, so I'm not going to get into this. Let's just do the little introduction part, and then next time we'll do, because I won't keep you late today. So benefits, just generally. We understand that benefits are indirect. It's not your salary. Benefits could be money, or it could be non-financial. It could include things like time off or healthcare, life insurance, childcare, education. There are lots and lots of things that could be benefits. And the question is, what's the most important benefit? So aside from salary, What do you think, Anais? Aside from salary, what's the most important benefit? No, Anais? Christine, what do you think?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said, aside from salary, what's the most important benefit to you?
Maybe training and education.
Okay.
Oh, no, never mind. Travel.
Okay.
And vacation time.
Travel and vacation time. Christine, would you agree with that? Or is there something else important to you?
Yeah, I would say like what she said in the beginning, education and the training, and also maybe just the experience in general to like get more skills.
Fair enough. So 78% of employees say healthcare. Not travel, not training, not education, healthcare. You guys are young. You're going to live forever. You don't need healthcare. But lots of people want healthcare. And most people are not satisfied with their healthcare. Benefits are a gigantic expense. You know, benefits account for over a third of wages and salaries. Healthcare is really expensive. You know, and healthcare is just one of these things. Training, we already talked about, training is quite expensive too. So there's 6 key areas of benefits before we get into it. We'll talk about these 6 key areas and the history, and then we'll be done for today. So yeah, about 5 minutes. Okay, so the employee benefits. Here's generally how the benefits are broken down. We have about 70% are the wages and the salaries. The things that are required, and we'll talk about those, is about 7 or 8%. Healthcare is almost 10%. Paid leave is about 7%. And then there are these minor things like retirement and saving, almost 5%, and bonuses and overtime and things like that, very small. So bonuses and overtime are not the real big cost here. The big costs are things like what are legally required. So besides paid leave, besides retirement, can you think of anything that's legally required that you have to give employees? Any thoughts, anybody?
Transportation.
You don't have to give people, they can take the bus.
Would it be vacations?
Okay, you do need to give vacations, but that's over here, that's paid leave.
Okay.
What else?
Something to eat.
Go on.
Like,
what'd you say?
Yeah, like expense in food, for example.
What? You do not have to give employees food.
What about the utilities, the facilities, if they work with machinery, do you have to supplement their, those or?
No.
No.
Okay. If you get pregnant, maternity leave, that's legally required. Okay, the law says if a woman gets pregnant, she gets a certain amount of time off. So does the father. If you need to take care of somebody in your family, parents or a dependent, that too. Workers' compensation. If you get hurt on the job, you get workers' compensation. That's not healthcare. That's if you get hurt on the job. You get a certain amount of money. Those are the 2 really big costs. There's one other, not sure, but those are the 2 really big costs. So, okay, there's 6 areas of insurance benefits. Why is this jumping around? Okay, well, let's stop there because we're at the time and this gets into a whole new area. So we'll stop here for the moment. But, okay, so just to update everybody on sort of our schedule, we have By my schedule, we have like 3 more classes after today and then the final exam. So the last class, which I think is December 27th, I have not been told when the exam is yet, so I don't know. But the last class will be the 27th. That class will be a review class. So we'll just have a review. Now the final exam will be open book. It'll be very similar to the midterm in that you'll go to Blackboard, you'll click on it, then you'll have like 3 hours to answer it. I'll give you like a day or two to choose whenever you want to do it. And it'll be like that. And I grade it.
When will it be up?
I'm sorry?
When will it be up?
I don't know yet. I don't know. The office hasn't told me when the final exam is.
Wasn't
Now,
it on the 21st?
there's a chance that the office is going to say we have to hold it face-to-face on Zoom. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. I need the office told me they get to choose that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be on the 21st, the exam. I don't know why.
The 21st?
Of December, yeah.
Yeah, because that's when most teachers said that's the last week, like the week of finals.
Okay, I'll need to check because on my schedule, I had on their older schedule, they said that the finals began on the 27th. So I figured we would still have a review class then. But, you know, before next week, I'll contact the office and make sure on the final dates. Either way, whatever our last class is, we'll have a review class for that. So what you start getting ready is you need to start getting ready all of your materials that you will use. You know, we only have like 2 weeks left. So if you're going to use my PPTs, your notes, textbook with stickies in it, you know, whatever you're going to use. And in our final review, I'll give you some practice exams that we'll do together. I'll give you one before our final review. Look at it, do it, then we'll go over it in the final review. But pretty much, I mean, you pretty much should know what's going to be on the test. It's everything that we've covered this semester. It's not only the second part. But we'll talk about it during the final review. Let me know if you have any questions earlier than that. For now, just get your PPTs together and maybe like scan through them. And if there's anything where you're like, whoa, I forget that, then either ask me or look at a video or something.
David, did you finish correcting the midterm?
No, but I have started.
Okay. I had a question about last class. Let me just get to it. Sorry, hold on, I'm just looking for it. So it was about compensating employees, and I wanted to know what golden parachute meant. And top executives, we're talking about compensation usually includes, and there was deferred long-term incentives like stock offers and golden parachute.
Yeah, golden parachute is it's a termination package, not a retirement package, but it's for executives. And it says that if you leave this company for pretty much any reason, we give you a certain amount of money and benefits. So we give this to, or companies give this to their top executives as a reason that we might pay you a little less now. So let's say, and we're talking about, you know, pretty big companies. Only a big company would have a golden parachute. But let's say that you work for a pretty big company and you're going to hire a senior vice president and they want $1 million a year. And you say, listen, we can't give you that, but we're going to give you $500,000 a year. But when you leave this job, as long as you've worked here 5 years, whenever you leave this job, you'll automatically get $5 million or 100,000 shares of stock or something really big. The idea is, even if you did a terrible job for 5 years and we're going to push you out of the airplane, you have a golden parachute. No matter what happens, you're going to be okay. Now, if you look at the 2008 financial crisis in America, you had people who worked at banks and in Wall Street and in accounting firms who were doing terrible things, lying and cheating. They lost jobs and kept their golden parachute. They did. They were terrible. And they got, you know, pushed out of the company airplane. Walked away with $20 million. You know, what it says is you're going to be okay no matter what happens. We promise you, if you take this job, when you leave, you have this parachute. You're going to be okay.
So it's just a way to attract people to the company?
Yeah, it's a deferred benefit, right? We're not giving you that money today. As long as you don't, I don't know, go kill a bunch of people and go into prison, there's nothing that could stop you from getting this.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, then we will stop there for today, and I will see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bye.
I didn't transfer hosting. Okay, Anais, you're the host now. You did the
Awesome.
got it. That's funny. All right, I'll see you guys later.
Bye.